Hey guys, welcome back to another World of Unknown. I'm Danny.
I'm Trevor.
Guys, we are back with another episode which we are calling the Missing Persons, Peoples in our national parks and forest areas all through North America and Canada. Guys might also know it as the Missing 411, which is a heavily influenced, which kind of kicked this off around here. But it's been a very interesting look into this whole missing peoples thing because there's like so much information. I know I was overloaded. We're having a tough time. We even had to delay this recording a little bit because it's just almost too much. You know, my brain. I tried looking at stuff and my brain's like, I've had enough, and I'm like, I gotta go.
There's a lot of statistics going on.
It was, and a few times I had to just go and play some Xbox just to clear my brain. Yes, I'm using that excuse. Anyways, guys, let's dump it. It is actually very interesting. So we mentioned the name Missing 411, and that Missing 411 comes from a guy named David Politis. Is an ex San Francisco, San Jose cop. He worked in all the departments, including like a detective work and stuff like that, where he started. Well, let's bring it up. He retired from there, and he got into, if anything, Bigfoot, the National Bigfoot Association search and everything. He actually wrote a couple books about that, and they're trying to get the whole Bigfoot thing going. And I mean,
I don't know how you guys feel about Bigfoot, Bigfoot people, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard to Bigfoot people, and God bless them, they're sticking with it, and they're good with it. And if they ever find a Bigfoot, they can laugh at us. We told you guys so, and stuff. But regardless of how you feel about that, he. One of these, and it's not. He was at a park, and he was kind of a little bit known as being an investigative reporter, a little bit, other than the Bigfoot thing. And one of these times, he was in one of the parks. He had a couple of rangers. He said they came up that started talking to him and told him, hey, you need to start looking into some of these. We have a lot of missing people. In our parks that go kind of unexplainable that we
which makes sense. I mean,
right.
National park, people doing stupid things out there.
Right, exactly. So he's like, okay, I'll start looking into it. You got rangers telling you, hey, you need to look a little bit into this. There was a couple of rangers. Obviously, he doesn't name who these people are, but so when he started looking into it, and first off, when he wanted to get a list of the missing people, he called the national parks. I think it was. NPA or whatever it is.
Yeah, and they made this like ultra difficult for him, huh?
Right. So when you go to list for national parks, so he called this actually. So he got in touch with them. He had a call from one of the lawyers, which he thought was very weird. The lawyer from the National Park Services were just like, well, what do you need this list for? And it kind of perked them up because they're not supposed to, legally, when you ask for a list. So like he said, you can go to any police department anywhere and ask for a list from the chief or whatever within an hour or two. You'll get a list. And
it's free.
And it's free. Yeah, exactly. So this guy, lawyer's asking, like, what do you need this for? And he's like, you're not supposed to ask me what I need. You can't, verify if you should be able to getting my answer. He was just like, well, I'm making a documentary. I'm just looking, because I'm doing research at the time. I'm just looking into it. And he basically said, well, we don't have that list, And he was like, okay. He's like, well, I'm going to use my credentials as a published author because he has already a published author from the other, books he had, which was Bigfoot books. He goes, okay, well, we'll get back to you. He says, so a few weeks later, they called him back and they said, like, your books are not enough publication. You don't have enough books out. He goes, like, which is bullshit. That shouldn't count because that's not supposed to count. As soon as you publish, they shouldn't like count how many that they weren't going to give it to him. So he was like, okay, well, what if I buy this from you guys? And he goes, all right, well, we'll get back to you. So when they get back to him, he's like, all right. They told him, like, well, if you want missing persons cases from Yosemite Park, it's going to be, he said, like, $23,000 to $30,000, and if you wanted the whole North American, it's going to be $1.2 million. Being that they weren't, they had to put people on and stuff, so they didn't supposedly have this list. They had to put people on it. He goes, well, I offered. He's like, well, I'll buy you guys a brand new laptop, and I'll even get an intern to help you guys get this going. Yeah, but you don't want it.
They still wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it. So they were giving him a tough time about getting.
Well, I mean, we were talking about it earlier, where the national parks are severely underfunded.
Yeah.
And I know that the manpower that they have is very limited.
Right.
And I could see them trying to, if he might have got the wrong guy who thought he could get a money grab off of him to help fund certain things. And maybe that's the angle they went at.
Yeah. I was thinking, though, if it was what he was doing was against the law, why didn't the Politis get his legal team on? Not only legal team on.
But do you want to get into that kind of fight?
But probably, and that's probably what it was, because I didn't want to get. Because I guess he goes, look, I just want to get this list and see what's going on here.
And so, I know the list. I know they don't want bad publicity. Like, you don't hear a lot about bear attacks or people dying out there, and it's for a reason. I mean, they do have casualties, but they want you to come out. They need the revenue. They need people to want to be out there.
And so basically that list exactly on bad publicity, and he goes, "Oh, that's unheard of not having a list. They're a public safety, they're the police of the national parks, of all national parks. All police departments in the United States around every city has a list of missing peoples that's going on, regardless if it's saved or if it's not, or if they've been found or not. So it was weird for him to say, like, because what you guys have, he found out they have a list of every movie ever shot in every park and everything, but they don't have a list of missing people, which is very odd.
Yeah.
They probably do, but they probably just don't want
They don't want it. It's buried.
I think as it is, they don't want the bad publicity of it and everything. I can't believe myself that they don't have a list there. They're just blocking from anybody getting it. I kind of get it. At the same time, it's like, well, it's a little shady. You should be telling people if weird stuff is going on. Again, they don't want people to get scared.
I can see certain parks where there's no funding for it, and then maybe they don't have a list.
Right.
Yosemite, the Appalachian Trail type stuff. I think that's just too big of a park for you to tell me you don't.
Even a small park, it's nothing fancy. All you got to do is it's a report that you write down and you file. That's a list of something. And if you don't have that, somebody's not doing their fucking jobs.
Maybe we got some people that, someone's cousin that got the job to help the,
I think they definitely got the list. Maybe it's not all compiled together. They might be separated, but there are lists out there. They just don't want these people getting them because there's probably a bunch of, I don't know, stuff like you said, bad publicity. I think that's what it is. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure, because especially if you're talking about missing kids, and that people just don't like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even I found out watching a serial killer documentary that serial killers love national parks.
Right. No, it's easy to hide, man.
There's so much space, and I was like, damn, I didn't think about it. I didn't know it.
And that kind of serial killer has to be really an outdoorsman to live out there, because if you're out there, you're out there.
No, this one was a city guy.
Yeah. So he was just going into the day?
He liked to pick up hitchhikers and take them into Yosemite, and that's where he would off them.
At least he's getting outside and getting some exercise.
And he did it all over. Yeah, it was like, but you didn't think about things like that. I'm like, okay, but the parks are never going to say it.
Right. No, they don't want to scare you away.
Yeah.
So let's get into, somehow Paulides, and just talking to Trevor beforehand, I couldn't get, maybe I didn't look in the right area. Paulides finally did get a list of missing peoples and stuff, and he started looking it over, again.
Which we're kind of skeptical of that list.
We don't know how he got this list. So I don't know if he paid it, and
maybe he had a backer and they paid it.
Maybe he did. Maybe because he does have now. So what he end up having, he has 10 books now. And he has about 3 documentaries, movies, and he's called Missing 411. So people, what the hell is 411? 411, if you remember, is like info, right? So it's missing info. It's just his play on the thing to capture it and everything. That's all it is. And so when he went over the whole missing, unexplainable one. So first of all, he went through and he started taking out certain obvious signs of missing peoples, like people who were attacked by animals. They call, I saw one interview where he likes the word perdition. I guess perdition is like an attack of an animal, signs of attack. Yeah.
Road to perdition.
I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's a perdition. Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. Anyways, there's a word he was stuck on.
Predation.
Predation. Sorry. Predation. That's right.
I'm like, perdition.
You know what? I'm not an
That was a good movie.
Guys, so sue me.
Yeah, predation.
Predation. Just give me constipation. Just obvious things like criminal activity, suicidal people, anything that's explainable, elemental stuff,
Yeah, you died from the elements.
Right. Falls, like people who fell and stuff. So he took out stuff that was kind of solved and was already known of what happened to him, or people that were kind of known to,
which you have to do if you got that kind of info. Yeah.
Runaway stuff, someone that might have been like maybe a runaway. Okay, so and so what was left is all the unexplainable stuff, and all the explainable stuff are like causes of death are unknown even when they found bodies.
Clothes being perfectly folded and
weird stuff. People missing like suddenly with a group of people, and they like within seconds they look around like, hey, where the hell is so and so? Just weird occurrences that happen. That stuff that's like, wait, what?
Well, you told me about a rock climbing one that was very weird.
Yeah, rock climbing one. We'll get into it a little bit here, but so it was like the odd cases, and I was telling Trevor, and every question had like, well. Okay, well, maybe it's got to be this, and he goes no because of this, and so every question you had like what it could be, there's other clues on there that puts it off like, well, it can't be that because this
point to something else and then dead end, and
I think that was kind of hampering me a little bit. There's too much out there for me to go into, and I couldn't pick any cases that would answer all that, but they have a lot of stuff on it and podcasts and stuff. Another good one was Mr. Ballin has a whole 411 thing. If you want to look into that, David Paulides, they have documentaries anyways. But if you want to look more into that and see exactly what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway, so the list that Paulides finally came up with, he noticed there's a lot of similarities in a lot of these cases, a lot of profile points in which when he would find these missing characters, he'd go over, and if he'd have like 2 or 3 of these profile points, he knows like, okay, this is one of these cases that fall into what he's looking at, what he calls the missing 411. So let's first of all, let's start off with, and I had showed you a map, and I'll put a map here. It's a geological. Jeez, thank you.
Map of the
clustering.
Clustering
of the
missing
missings,
people,
which were falling around national parks.
Yeah.
The highest being in Yosemite National Park. With
Which
barely
makes sense.
any being located during the center of the U.S. So I'm going to put the map here. You guys can see it. So you can see all the marks are like
you can see where it's
national
a clear
parks. Right.
Yeah, you can.
And Yosemite being number 1 on his list, and there also, I think he does have maybe I'll find it one where the Canadian part, because he studied that too.
Alaska's not even on there. There's a lot of missing people in Alaska.
So that goes in. So if there was missing cases that fall into one of those parks, that was put up on his list there. Let me go up here. Okay, so time of disappearances. Usually the incidents happen late in the afternoon, like after 4, right before it got super dark, was one of the things they found out, which is weird.
No, actually, I was telling you that my grandma had a friend that used to she worked with.
Yeah.
An experienced hiker, and she went up to Mount Charleston.
Oh, yeah.
Like Red Rock, Mount Charleston area, and she was hiking, disappeared.
Yeah.
8 years later,
yeah,
they finally found her body, and what happened was it was right at that twilight time.
Yeah.
She was walking, and she misjudged the ledge that she was walking by because she couldn't see it because of the sun.
Yeah.
And she went right over and fell, and no one could see her
Right,
body.
exactly. Got lost up there.
So that actually does make sense that right around that time, I think it's just that twilight.
Late afternoon. Well, I mean, in a lot of these, it's not always twilight, but it's just late in the afternoon, late in the, when it's kind of, it's not early in the daytime. It's like 3 to 4 o'clock and later,
Yeah.
So depending on the time of year,
It
4 o'clock could be twilight, or it
could
be still sun out there, but it's still just later. It's just the time of those disappearances are different. Point of separation: the person separates briefly from the main group and is gone. So sometimes a lot of these are people like either they're in the front of the group, like, okay, come on, we're all going. They're walking, and like this person just kind of maybe a little bit ahead of them, 50, 100 feet ahead, and they just kind of go around a corner, like, or the trail goes over. When they go around, they're gone.
And they're gone.
Or sometimes behind them. There's stories about people walking and someone behind them, and they're looking and talking, and a couple minutes later, look back, and that person's gone. It's just they briefly disappear from the main groups, and then they're gone. Another weird one here. A lot of these incidents happen in boulder fields. Incidents were rocky and boulder field areas.
You know what? Now I see that one. I could 100% understand.
Yeah.
That what if a boulder shifted and you're completely underneath it?
Maybe.
Like you're climbing around, digging around, and all of a sudden maybe you just unhooked that one little thing, and that boulder just went.
No, they're not always in this boulder field. Sometimes it's just near
it.
It's near a boulder field. It could be within a few hundred yards of a boulder field.
I've heard of weird things happening in boulder fields, but
it's odd. I've never heard that before, but
I've never got
weird.
a feel. I've been in boulder fields. I've never got like a weird feeling or anything. But.
Also, in boulder fields, I had to look at just like big areas of rock area, big rocky areas.
But if you think
not it was huge ones too. It's just rocky areas.
But that's easier for people to hide and pounce on you too.
Yeah, well, there's not always like huge rocks. Sometimes they're just like.
No, but you can camouflage. Like you could camouflage yourself pretty decent in a rock, like a little small rock area, and then pop up on somebody.
Near water, incidents occurred near big bodies of water, and that makes sense. Okay, that's that kind of. Now again, it doesn't always happen at the water. It means near. Like it could be within a mile, a couple of miles. I mean, I've heard it, but it's always kind of near that area. Oops, sorry about this. God dang it. Weather events. At the time of disappearance or soon afterwards, or when search and rescue starts to look, inclement weather will come in, delaying or making the search more difficult. And that's unexplainable. Like, with these, so we should say, so out of all these cases, at the time he had found, it was like almost 1,500, and now
1,600.
About 1,600. Yeah. That number might have gone up a little bit. Some of the numbers we're looking at were.
No, I think I just looked at it.
Okay, so it's about 1,500 of these, and a lot of these are inclement weather, and that would make sense for making it tough for these people to be found because of bad weather.
Strategic?
Is it strategic?
So
right.
some weird person nabs somebody, and then they just they're out in that area, so they know when weather's coming.
Right.
And then they go, okay. And
weird person, weird thing. Yeah, exactly. Just
washes away what they just did.
Right. Yeah, they would know.
They
like
know
a
if a rainstorm's
person
coming.
or animal or thing, whatever, there's bad weather coming in. If I go, it'd be harder for them to just know.
They can't track me.
They can't track. Damn it. Disability or illness. So the people who go missing have some sort of disability or illness to them. It's not always obvious sign that they do have one though. So some of these that I've watched, one guy was kind of blind one eye. Some of people a little like slight autism. Some of the illnesses, and then you're thinking like, oh, these people are severely disabled. Like, oh, no, it's not that. Some of these people are just like they're diabetic. So it's nothing bad. Might be a little asthmatic or something, but they do have something to them. But that brings into the hunter hunting the weakest of the prey.
Yeah, that you don't go for the strongest. You look for.
You go the one you can.
Maybe you saw someone take a breath and you're like, ooh, they don't.
Right. Somebody can. Somebody or something or can sense when somebody's like. Obviously, if you see somebody that's missing an eye or an arm, yes. But then sometimes some of these sicknesses, if it's not outward visible, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm thinking like mountain lions. I don't think they can see if you have vision.
Right. Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I don't like if you have two eyes. I think they automatically think
they
you can see you.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. Exactly.
But I bet they can definitely tell if you're not all there.
Right. Oh boy, they know I'm not all there. Canines can't track. When canine units are brought in, they can't pick up a scent or seem confused. Weird. Also, if they do get a scent, they stop suddenly when no clues as to why. So sometimes they get some they just stop and they just kind of sit down like they just lost the scent. That is very weird.
Or whoever's doing this is completely. They'll walk into an area and they'll just completely flood the area with scent.
Maybe.
Where it's like, and they do it on purpose where you want it, and the dog doesn't know which way to go.
Yeah, they get confused.
And I know canine trackers, when they don't know which way, they sit down and they just stop.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They sit down.
And that's when they go, okay, we got to find something else.
What's weird is even like dead bodies, they can't, that should be very discernible to them, and they can't find those,
Yeah, but isn't there ways to cover like the smell of a dead body, like lime and all that?
I don't know, buddy. Is there?
I don't know.
Is there? You got
I've watched too many mob movies.
But yeah, exactly. You heard it here first.
I think there is ways to cover the scent of a body. Right. I don't know if. I'm sure you could have some chemical that would fuck their nose up that they couldn't smell anything.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like spray bleach or something in the air.
But wouldn't the searchers be able to smell that?
Not if you did it long ago. Like if you did it just long enough, but like the scent for us went away. But the dogs, maybe it's messing with them.
It'd be interesting to ask like a search and rescue person.
Yeah, that would be very
canine unit to ask them and how that would go. Another profile point is, so these people or bodies are found in areas previously searched. When someone is found or a body is found,
that's a weird one.
They are found in an area that had already been searched through many times before.
And
I've heard it's up to like 10 or 20 times. It's not like a hidden. They're usually like out there, like they pass by, like, oh, they're right there. Like how the hell could you miss that?
You're laying in the
areas
middle of
where people have. So when I was telling Trevor here and watching someone and reading some of the stuff that these searchers, when they go out, especially when they're young kids, they go out and they search when they say search every inch of these places, they go through and they search everywhere.
And I think one of them had like 1,800 people that searched.
They were in the creeks. They were up to their thing and they're searching with poles and they're looking. They're pulling stuff out. They're going into any kind of animal dens they can find, anything. They're trying to search for signs of this stuff. So when you do that and you go through areas like high traffic search areas and suddenly you go back like, oh fuck, they're right there, or look, there's some clothing there. So which goes to another one, missing clothing. They will find the missing's random clothing, but the clothing's intact and in good condition.
So it's not like they just took it off?
Like they took it off or someone took it off. And sometimes in some cases they were folded. Other cases, like boots or shoes, are found in like good condition, like just sitting there, like on a rock or just in a little area. Very odd.
It's odd, but I've seen enough stories from like very seasoned hunters where they've found people where like you kind of just give up.
Yeah.
And you kind of like, or like you just, let's say you're walking and maybe it's just an OCD thing that you took it off, folded your shirt and put it up and you just kept walking.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I've heard really, really weird stories about when people get lost and they know they're going to die.
Another one is unknown cause of death. When bodies are found, the cause of death is unknown. Coroners don't find any discernible reasons for death like drowning, hypothermia, animal attacks, falling, or anything common.
Lightning.
Yeah,
it's lightning.
That's right. Ball lightning.
Yeah.
All right, so again, politis, and that was the main profile points he looks into, and a lot of the cases he looks in, like they'll have like 3 or 4 of those that match up to that. He doesn't look into any cases where obviously we're talking about that had signs of animal attack, drug users, signs of psychological problems like suicides, criminal activities, accidents, deliberate disappearances. At the beginning, he did not go, when he started putting out these books out and a couple of these documentaries he came out, he didn't go into explanations of what he thought it was. He just put out like, this is what I'm finding, this is the commonalities.
Because there was no opinion in it.
Right, and he had a couple of interviews I listened to. He's like, look, I'm not going to put my information on what I think it is because I don't want to degrade what people think. Skew it. And see, this is what I'm just finding. And a lot of the skeptics were like, well, he's just giving you facts. And I go, well, that was the whole point. He's just trying to point this out of what he's doing.
Why does everyone need to have their opinion in it?
And some are like, well, he's cherry picking these things. I go, well, yeah, well, there's
you
a whole
have
point.
to cherry pick.
I go, it's the whole point. He's not going to worry about the stuff that's already been figured out.
I looked up, each year there's around 325 million people that go to the parks.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how many missing people that they find, figure out what happened to them, all that. So you have to go through that and cherry pick the weird cases. You can't.
Yeah, why would you look at stuff that like you knew was a fall?
Well, that guy died of a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we explain that? You can
it's
explain it. Yeah, these are the ones that you need to look at, and
that was
the
whole point of this process of what these park rangers told him. Like, there's certain cases
they're weird.
You have to cherry pick them out. Okay, so let's look into this. And that was so it was kind of weird that and I'm not bagging on skeptics. I'm like, well, that was the whole point of the whole search.
Well, you're being skeptical. Weird, stupid.
Right. I don't mind. Right. And again, we don't mind skeptical. Just be logical about it. Like,
okay,
what is he doing?
Yeah,
that was the whole point. He's cherry picking these, if you want to call it cherry picking, because these are the
I think
weird
he
cases.
Was just going through and
finding the odd ones that are like, okay, this stands out.
It's not cherry picking. It's just doing your research.
Right. So again, the knock on him is obviously the cherry picking thing. I'm going to put it. The big knock on him is there's another one, but big knock on him is he found the North American Bigfoot Search Group, and he did publish 2 books beforehand. And I read something that him and the group had supposedly had a DNA. This is way before he even started. Right, exactly. That they had DNA of Bigfoot, and obviously they came back later like, no, it's not. It's just a human.
Like a bear or some shit.
Which does, for me too, put a dent in some of his credibility, which he was for another one. So he's come out, I think by now it's like 10 books, Missing 411, and there's all these information that he collects some of the cases that are really odd, and he presents them. From what I understand, I tried to get one of the books I really wanted to get, but they're really expensive. When I saw on Amazon, it was like $100.
Yeah, I'm not
paying for that much. So if they're $100 for each book, I mean that's like what, $1,000 to get all this stuff. I mean,
about.
I don't know. I know, right, and I get making money and stuff, but that's anyways. And some of the interviews I was talking about, and he says I have all these people who come in skeptical and this and that, and he kept telling him, well, have you read my books? Have you read all the cases? And it sounds funny because it sounds like
he's trying to sell.
He's trying to sell, but at the same time, he does have a point. Like, okay, you're questioning a couple of things, but if you go through all the cases I go through, you see this pattern, and you see it answers a lot of questions you're asking. And it leaves you still unknown of what's going on.
So pretty much what he's telling people is they didn't do their research before they talked to him.
Basically, do your research before you start coming at me saying that I'm bullshit. Like if you go through all the cases that I went through,
I get it.
Then we can talk. Yeah. And I do. That's what I mean. I understand too. I go, I understand it. Right. Don't come at me and say like I'm full of shit. But then I ask you about points of the case, and you're like, well, I don't know. Like
zero idea what you're talking about.
Then you don't know what you're fucking talking about. Yeah. I did the fucking work. I put all the time in.
Yeah.
And I get that. I totally get that. And he should be that way because he did put a lot. I mean, there's a lot of work, regardless if it's him or a team. People are like, well, he has a team. I go, well, I get that. But his team and him put all this work into it, and that's what he put forth. And is he selling off it? Yeah. I mean, we all sell fucking.
Is it true, though?
The thing that we have a point now and that we talked about is where is he getting this list now? So did he pay those people to get that list?
So this is what I'm thinking. He either has a backer or the publisher paid.
Yeah. Okay.
Or he went back to the rangers that originally started this, or some rangers that he made friends with
that helped get numbers in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right, because somehow he put a big deal about negating, and somehow he got this list. But
because I would say like maybe he paid a hacker to hack in.
Yeah,
but if you think about it, their filing system was mostly pen and paper all the way up into the 80s.
Yeah.
And
probably even later.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they had the manpower to log all that
to transcribe it over.
So I'm thinking most of the stuff, if you're actually looking, you're gonna get some old documents, like actual paper documents, not an email.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't even hack that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, so this compiled list that he's got is pretty good.
Which I'd like to see, but I'd just like to test some of them. Like, I'd like to see if it's what he says it is, or
Right.
if it was something else and he kind of just skewed it to make it look like
Right,
it was.
right, and skewed it until
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to do that, or someone to go out there and do that. So actually get the list that he's getting and then go through it themselves.
Yeah, because I mean, it's
like a lot of work.
1,600 people, but if you really think about it, out of all the, how many
Right.
books has he sold? How many years
But
he's been doing this?
Wait, that's 1,600 unexplainable. We don't know the actual list of missing people. So he had to fare through all the ones that were explainable. That goes into the tens of thousands.
Okay.
So that might be like 30 to 40 to 50,000 through all the years he's checking. And we're talking about he's talking about stuff from the 50s.
That is a lot of work, yeah.
To 60,000, and then he goes through and X's out. I'm sure they might have yeah, I don't know. They'd have to go through and like, okay, not this one. No, bear attack. No. Okay, this one. Oh, no, fall.
He's
All right,
definitely going to have
this
to have
one,
a team
suicide.
behind
No.
him,
Yeah. And then
the guy had a heart attack. The guy,
yeah. That's I found this guy heart attack. Okay, nope.
Froze to death.
Yeah. Okay, froze to death. Oh, this one. Here's one that has an explainable. Read it. Oh, okay, it looks good. But so that is enormous amount of work that he did put into it. That if
I'll get him. I just would like to see that list though.
right.
Just
exactly.
Yeah, I just want to know.
So going into this list, and if you go through again, there's a lot of he has documentaries out there. By the way, he has 3 of them.
Which you ended
I
up
watched
watching,
all 3 of them. So because I couldn't read the books. So the first one, it deals a lot with some of the young kids. I didn't care for much. He follows mainly this one group of people who lost a 2-year-old, which I don't know. I was listening to another podcast that did some research into it, and they go the original main story, because they kept kind of one of those documentaries. Well, it didn't follow just one story, then the next. They all kind of intermingled. You know, they follow this a little bit, and then you go to this story, and then you go to this story, and you go back to this story. So, but the main story was this 2-year-old that I think at that time when they were filming it, they might have been just recently just happened, so they got them because it was still the hot thing at the time. But that one seemed weird. That one seemed like there's some shady stuff with the parents going on.
Could be.
That one. It kind of similar, but then some weird stuff come out about the family. Weird, anyways.
So
but
they never found the boy,
right?
Though, right?
No, they never found the boy.
So maybe the parents had foul play.
That's what they think,
Maybe
or they
just
think
didn't
that
want a
the parents
2-year-old
might have sold
anymore.
them. I don't know. Anyways,
Damn, people still sell kids.
But the other ones on there, and then this one, the first one dealt with a lot of the younger kids. There was a young kid, and it's a famous one. His name is Martin. What was the name of the kid? Anyways.
Oh, I just read about him.
Yeah, that's the one that was found.
Yeah. Like,
no, that's the one where he went. So it was he was with his father and the family, and they were going to a regular campsite they always go to, and it's a little main area. And they met another family that had kids around the same time. So the kids started playing together, and they're watching them. And the kids like to go and hide in the bushes, and then they would tell the parents, "All right, guys, come out and come in." So again,
hide and
the
seek.
father's watching them. So they went to go hide again. And all the kids picked little different bushes in a little area, and the father's like, "Okay, come out." And this one guy, his son, never came out, and he goes, "Yes, come out." I forget what the name of the kid is, and they couldn't come out. So they went over to look where he's at, and he's gone. And so they tried to look, and they're calling, and they going to the bush to look, and that was a weird one. So they didn't find him.
Yeah,
I remember they found him later. I don't know, but it's one of the weird stories. Again, it matches all the things. There's so much, guys, I didn't want it, but if you go in, it's stuff like that that's happening. Another one on that one was a young boy that went missing. And they found him 24 hours later, like 12 miles away.
And you said Les Stroud even went and tried to do that trek.
So Les Stroud is a famous
he's the survivor man.
Yeah.
He's done the Bigfoot thing. He's done all that. But if you want someone outdoors, he knows what he's doing.
So it's 2 years. So it was late afternoon. He disappeared. They looked for him. They couldn't find him. So they sent searchers out. So say the farm's here. So they went out this way. They found his boot way off like 3 miles this way, and then like another 9 miles this way. They finally found him the next day way over here. So his trek was a few miles this way, and then a few miles this way.
It was uphill, right?
It was uphill, rocky terrain.
So
at night.
The one thing that you need to know is with kids, they're always going to go the easy route.
Yeah.
So it's always downhill.
Yeah.
It's always, you're not going through rocks. You're not.
I can imagine the kid just wandering miles anyways to begin with, and I mean just in general.
Well,
they're going to get tired. This little kid's not going to be walking.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
3 or 4 miles.
But what if that kid didn't take that route? What if he took a different route and then, like, he dropped the boot and maybe a dog?
So even where they found him, it's still 12 miles from the house.
Yeah.
So what they did find the kid, he was alive. Was weird when they found him. He was laying down in like an open little area. His clothes were
aliens.
off. Clothes were off, but they were folded next to him. It's very weird.
That sounds like he
So you mentioned like
horribly,
somebody
maybe
kidnapped
got him.
So again, I mentioned like, okay, someone got him late at night. So this guy Les Stroud, outdoorsman, who knows his shit, couldn't make that trek himself.
Okay. This is what I'll tell you.
At night. Well, he said at nighttime because I can't do this. Because let alone I can't imagine a 2-year-old doing this.
I'll tell you this. There's just because Les Stroud couldn't do it doesn't mean there's not some dude that could have done 20 miles that night. That knows that backwoods better than anyone else.
So, right.
I'm just saying there's certain outdoorsmen that are just better in their environment than anyone else.
You're carrying a kid. I don't know how compliable this kid is. I don't know. I know it is. It could have been done.
He could have knocked the kid out and just threw him over his shoulder.
But even then,
off.
That's still some weight on you. Yeah,
it had little shortcuts here and there that he took and
at nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah,
obviously you got flashlights.
But
this is in the 50s too, so this is
Yeah, I'm just saying there's some people that day or night they know exactly where they are.
Right.
They know exactly what they're walking over.
It could be
because they've done it a million times.
Right. It could be.
And if he was motivated,
kid, and a lot of times these people are not dressed for people who are going missing, for going. They're not dressed for leaving anywhere, So the second movie is called The Hunted, Missing 401. I liked a lot because it's about missing hunters.
And we were talking about that too.
And that was interesting because hunters are usually they're outdoorsmen.
Most of them, yeah.
And the areas they go in, they hunt in the same areas over and over again because that's where you find the elk. A lot of them too were elk hunters. A lot.
Well, so the thing with elk is you have to go real far into the backcountry and up hills because that's where the elk live.
Right.
It's like if you hunt deer will come down into the valley.
Exactly.
Elk don't do that shit. You have to go find those things.
There's elk and there's regular deer, but a lot of elk. So these people are, they have guns. They're well equipped. They know where they're at. They
clearly know the territory.
So they have stuff where I guess with the hunters, they'll have one or two guys sit in an area what they call a blind, and then they'll have the other hunters go up around and they try to push the deer or elk, flush them out. So a lot of people that go missing a lot of times are the people who are supposed to sit in the blind. They'll come back like, hey, we'll sit here for a few hours. Everybody has their watch and stuff, and at 4 o'clock we'll call it a day. Okay, so when they go back to check, these people are gone.
Now,
sometimes they find their guns, or they'll find their guns like a few hundred yards later on, just like lying there, not just lying there. And again, when you go through, there's nothing about animal attack. There's no animal. What was it? Not predation, but
predation.
Predation.
Now, I will say this though, like I've heard a bunch of hunters that I've known, that I know. They've had mountain lions come up behind them while they're doing they're sitting in a blind. They've had bears come up behind them. And I told you, if you get a grizzly, a big grizzly, a grizzly will walk up and grab you by the scruff of your neck.
Right.
When you can't call out, you can't do anything, and will walk off and your feet won't touch the ground.
Yeah.
That's how big those bears are.
Right.
And I don't think there would be a lot of blood just because it grabbed you and walked off.
Again, these searchers, though, they would have found this bear's den and they would have looked. And
not if a storm came through.
Even with a storm, and a bear's den is usually a bear's den. Yeah. Again, if you look at the stories, they've searched, they've known that, they understand that. The other hunters that go, they get that part of it, and they've looked. It just, if you look at some of the cases, I know a lot of people say, well, it's just animal attack stuff. I go, but the more you look at it,
some of them can be.
Again, if these things were all told the way they're supposed to be told, if the information that we're getting is exactly the way they're supposed to be telling.
And this is what you got to think. Like, you're talking about humans and their perspective of what happened.
Right, exactly.
So, and then you also have to think these people have to march out sometimes 15, 20 miles.
Yeah.
And all they've been thinking about is the story that's in their head.
Yeah.
And it might have got adjusted, or some fantasies might have got thrown in there, or maybe the guy was so scared that he's seeing a whole different thing that happened.
Right.
Like,
maybe
he thinks something definitely got him.
So anyways, I like that second one because it was
about
100. It was
just more,
I know one of the things I was looking at, people are like, well, why does Paulides always look into people who are great shape and outdoors? I go, because those are the weird cases.
That's one of the people that when they go missing, you go, what happened?
Yeah. They're outdoorsmen. Yeah. Why? How are they go missing when they know? And it's always areas they knew they've hiked forever. I go, well, doesn't that make it even more weird? I mean, well, that
makes it very weird.
It's one thing if an old, senior. There's a couple of guys that were in their late 70s that even though they knew an area, their late 70s, 80s. Okay, they could have had health problems, and something could have happened and whatever.
Could've.
But when it's a young guy in 38 who's hiked and who's an experienced hiker and he's in great shape, I mean, well, that even makes it weird. I'm like, why are you arguing at that point? In fact, you're just kind of solidifying his argument that he's putting through. So anyway, so the second was good. So now, and the second one came out, the first movie came out in 2016, 17. The second one came out in 2019.
I think I watched the second movie.
And in 2022. So, and this is where another
this
hit.
Is where it gets
this is another
skewed,
hit to his credibility now. Is Missing 401, the UFO connection. And I watched
so
this.
It was 22.
Yeah.
So that was right when all the UFO craze. So
yeah,
I think he did it just to sell it.
I think, and that's when all the government stuff. He even mentioned that stuff, and there were some weird stories about that. But then that started taking a hit. Like okay, so you after he told us like I don't want to put forth any explanations of what I think it is. And he might say, look, well, I'm not saying it's me. I go, yeah, but you're putting an actual documentary on UFOs. You're basically saying...
You're saying UFOs took these people.
Right. So whether that's... And I don't want to dump on people believing that. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. You're actually putting forth what you think. And I liked it better when he was just like, these are the facts.
Yeah.
You guys
when he kept his opinion out of it.
Right, exactly. So he kind of put his opinion, or he put the... Maybe he had overriding... people that were saying it, so he put it forth. However it was, I didn't like that third one. Although I do like UFO stuff; they're interesting.
Yeah,
but that puts it more of a kind of a different.
I think what it sounds like is more of. I think he might have got pressured into it, or he saw a money grab.
Maybe a little both. Yeah.
The only way that he could make that story work was to, like kind of push that narrative.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he does have publishers, and he's doing books, and I guess he. Has to sell stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like the people that just show back up in like an open field,
right?
That's that's a big UFO thing,
right? And they don't know whether it's like missing time. So it's.
But my thing is, if you have, let's say, if you have 1,000 people looking for this child going elbow to elbow, and you would definitely see something. Especially if you're just that aware,
yeah,
and you have that many people, you're gonna see a UFO come near you,
right, and
drop something. You're gonna see anything that comes near you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would imagine. I guess maybe that's what I imagine that you would see.
And you
something.
went over that area 3 or 4 times,
right?
No,
right. So anyway, so that one took a hit on the whole Missing 401 for me when I didn't like that one. I'm like, okay, I mean that's. Anyways, so, but
I don't know about that.
If it's and that took a hit on the credibility of the list and everything too, but it's still an interesting list. I'm sure if you went over, and there are interviews with people with missing loved ones and family that are saying that this is a weird case and whatever. And I'm sure you had that with everything, but it's just kind of a overall. Let's go into some of the theories that people are saying that could be. Well, obviously, number one is UFOs. Taking people and let's go over it. So that would explain a lot of the stuff. I mean, it's an easy explanation. It's one of those write-offs like, UFOs, because it explains everything. And it does. It conveniently does explain everything. I mean, and as freaky as that could be, I mean, is there other ways it could be even scarier? I mean...
Yeah, well...
some of these people were... I'm sorry. Remember, some of these bodies are found... When they find the bodies, they're just finding pieces. A few of the cases I saw, they were finding pieces of the people's scalp. Clean.
Well... That's going to be
with the clothes folded next to them.
We'll get down on that one, but
right.
I think
and again, people say animal tech, but
I don't think it's animal. I think
not
it's human.
It would be more likely a human thing, but again, how these people are disappearing, it's human thing, but it's kind of like the way to disappear. I don't know. It seems very hard for a human to be doing this. Not saying it can't be impossible to be doing this, but anyways, so one of them is going to be, and one of the theories is feral people.
That's the one reason I wanted to do all this, because there was a big thing that I got into where the national parks were built to keep these feral.
I remember reading about them.
These feral families,
right?
Just kind of hidden away because they didn't want them. They couldn't deal with them, but they couldn't kill them.
Right.
So they just gave them their space, and I'm talking about people from like the 1700s that came here in America. And they just stayed in the backwoods, and their families are incest. They're inbred.
Yeah,
they're definitely not right, and they don't even speak English. Like they're very Neanderthalish.
Right.
So, in one way to keep it, and you can have a couple people go missing that maybe went on their turf.
Yeah.
And they just took them out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, ate them, killed them, bury them, whatever they did.
That would explain a lot of the weird occurrences going on.
Yeah.
The only thing I have that theory, I remember hearing that thing. The only other theories, the only thing I call bullshit on is, dude, we came in and we drove out the Native Americans and we put them in land, and we were very brutal about that.
But
I don't think that our American government would have a big group of people where we had to put forest around them just to keep them sedated. I think they would have gone through and they would just eradicated them.
Yeah,
they did that with plenty of people. Well, not just Native Americans, there's been other things.
Trust me, they've wiped out
exactly.
land.
So I don't think they
I'm
would...
thinking, well, the Native Americans, they wanted their land. That's why they did that.
Right.
They were just a blight in the way. I think what you're looking at is a small 20 to 30 people that are in the back hills that no one gives a shit about.
Right.
But every time you wander around there, they'll kill you.
Right.
And then they just...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Even now after the killing, they would have gone through and they would have got rid of these people.
Maybe.
Why? Just in other words, why would they do all this national park thing? Just, and this is just me thinking, against the theory. Why would they do this whole thing just to sedate these small groups of people, which is a bunch of them? If you look over, like, I'll show that map again of all these national parks and these.
Maybe they just hope
there's
they
too
breed
many
them
of
out.
these. Yeah, for me, it's that would explain maybe one or two of the parks, but there's just too many of these parks, and that the government wouldn't go through. Like, okay, we're getting rid of this. This is too much.
Well, I'm not just saying feral people. I'm saying like maybe there's a cryptid that they don't want to kill, and
so we'll go into a cryptid thing. Now that's something totally different.
Yeah.
That's an actual animal. That for on some reason they're more protective of animals than they are of people.
Well, because we have plenty of people. I mean,
we can make more people.
We've wiped out so many species of animals.
Many people. Exactly.
Maybe there's one that, for all we know, they're trying to keep it for military purposes.
I'm Hispanic. We'll make a lot of people. Don't you worry about it. You want people? We'll make people for you. Don't you worry about it. Come back in a couple of years. We'll have more people for you.
But yeah, I think maybe they're just using. Like they found an animal that has a territory of 100 miles, and they go, all right, we can just kind of cordon this off, and we can study it.
See, the cryptid thing is interesting to me too. Yeah, if it is a cryptid, if it is, and they are kind of, now obviously not every. I think a lot of these cases that get lumped in might have different reasonings for it too, and there's just too many. There's like almost 2,000 now, I guess, or whatever, coming close to it. But a lot of them, they are cryptids. What about the cases of like folding clothes, clothes being folded and stuff? And had to be a highly intelligent.
It could be, or that person could have just gave up.
You're talking about actual people.
I'm talking about maybe the person.
Yeah.
Maybe they were about to go take a bath.
Yeah.
Maybe they were going to jump in the river, so they folded their clothes, and then that thing got them. Maybe they were on. This is another thing. People eat things out there because they're hungry.
Right.
And you might have ate
tripping balls and stuff.
You might have ate a mushroom that killed you. You might have.
You think that would show up in the toxicology court in the coroner?
No.
Say that?
Well, because if you eat a mushroom and they find this person 3 days later, it's nothing in there. It's just food.
But
poison.
the toxicology court would be able to.
I don't know.
Sense that in them, right?
All I know is like if you eat some mushrooms and you do a drug test,
right?
Nothing comes out. You have to specifically look,
right?
And that's if they're looking for it. Who knows what their budget is?
It's right. Well, I mean, the corner. I don't know. When you listen to these cases, the way he presents them, everything was kind of exhausted of what they're looking for. I imagine that's something to look for. Well, maybe they ate something they weren't supposed to, and I imagine it's something they looked into. Again, we don't know if they are.
I think that would be more of the folding the clothes and kind of getting naked type. I think they ate something that made them hallucinate.
Right.
And then food poisoned them and killed them.
It's weird how some of these people, when they do go missing, and either a cryptid or a person would explain, like, suddenly just disappearing, like, off the bat.
That one makes sense.
But because if you go on through, if someone just gets lost and right away, even within minutes, people start calling, you're going to hear them. You're like, well, even a kid's like, what? Where are you? We're right here. You can't go that far, especially a lot of these places are like rugged. Like you have a trail, but as soon as you go off, it's really rugged. You can't get that far with that minutes. But if you have someone that gets you and it, disability knocks you out or gets you, but then again,
and deliverances you in the
I mean, that could explain. And then maybe that's some of the cases. It is some, maybe not even feral people, just maybe there is a group of serial killers or just weird people out there, and that would explain maybe some of the cases out there.
I think there's a lot of human predators that go through that.
Yes,
for sure.
And I'm sure that could explain some of these. But
or you just have some sadistic people that just kind of live out there and for fun.
But there's plenty of cases out there that are weird. The people that were found, they don't know what happened to them. Like, oh, I don't know, it's. Obviously, a little 2-year-old boy, that guy they interviewed him, he's an old man now. He goes, I don't know, I was 2 years old. I'm like, well, I don't know why they were asking him what he knew.
When you're a kid, they might say a monster got him, and it could have been a guy. Right. Like you were telling me about a bear snatched a kid out of a tent. Yeah. But then I look at it and I go, okay, the family was awake. That's fine. A guy that skinned a black bear. Yeah. Could be put the whole thing on, and he looks like a bear. Yeah. Walking on his hind legs.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Now you're looking at. He snatched all you see is a bare face coming in a tent. Yeah. Everyone's scared. Yeah. And he snatched your kid, and then when you see the kid getting run off, it's just the back of a bear. Right.
There are that case, and there are a couple of cases of people thinking they're seeing bears, but bears running like a human would, basically.
Yeah, but I think that's just Hunter.
It could be.
I think it's a hunter using bear skin to just keep warm.
Possibly, and the way they found. So again, you'd have to dive into some of these details where we think it's easily explainable, but it kind of answers some of the questions like, well, it can't be this because of this, but and that's what's kind of driving me nuts.
And then you're going by eyewitness.
Because you're asking these questions as you should, and I'm like, okay, but when I'm reading through it, a lot of this stuff is like, no, it couldn't be that because, and I don't have the information for it, but, and again, that's why I wanted the books, but I am not paying $100 for a damn book.
We're not investing that much into 411.
Okay, so people and feral people and cryptids. I like the cryptids. I thought of cryptids of maybe it's a large bird type,
So, yeah. I know in Alaska, there's been a lot of sightings of people going just completely missing.
Yeah.
And there was one of a girl that ran a marathon up this mountain. There's a famous marathon right by the city. I forgot what it's called. I think it's Juneau or something.
Yeah.
And the girls run it, I think 8-9 years in a row.
Yeah.
And she was practicing. And there was kind of a storm coming in, but it wasn't a bad storm. It was more like a light rain drizzle, but a lot of fog.
Okay.
Fog and cloud. She never came down.
Okay. Yeah.
So they went and the entire town searched for her, and I think it was like 1,000 people ended up searching for her for 3 months.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a trace of her. Not a shoe, not a water bottle, nothing.
Right.
And they searched the hardest spots to get on the mountain. They even did like, what if she went this way for some reason and fell down here, and they helicopters, everything. Couldn't find her.
Yeah.
One of the locals, they were interviewing one of the locals, and he was like, yeah, there was like kind of like a rainstorm going on and like a little bit of
the weather
lightning and thunder.
Yeah.
And he goes, when one of them went off, I saw a giant shape of a bird.
Yeah.
And what we call it out here, and he was a native, he goes, it's a thunderbird.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that it was going over the same mountain that she was on.
Right. Well, there's a thing as thunderbirds.
I think it took it.
Native Americans have always said there were thunderbirds. Maybe there's a type of thunderbird that it's out there that would explain a lot of these people just disappearing with no signs of like animal attack, because it just lifts you off the ground.
And this is what I want people to realize. You can get an eagle, like an eagle now can snatch up a child.
Yes,
easy.
Right. You got to be very careful.
Some of them can snatch up 100-pound goat with ease.
Right.
So if you get an eagle that's been out farther past where, especially in Alaska, where it's like nobody goes because you can't get out there. It's just impossible.
Right.
And you have an eagle that has enough food to sustain it, and it's just an abnormally large eagle.
You could. I mean,
Right, can snatch up a grown ass man. With
I like that, and I like that huge thing. The only thing with that, with me, you would think sooner or later somebody would see this.
Well, there's some people that have taken pictures, and the problem with the pictures is it was too far away. It was good enough resolution to know exactly that it was a bird.
No, how big it is, basically.
They couldn't figure out how big. They knew what type of bird it was.
Yeah.
And then they also said that, look, this bird it's one of the biggest eagles out here, or it's a vulture.
Yeah.
And they go, we just can't scale it.
Yeah.
It looks massive, but we can't tell you how big this thing is.
Another thing, too, is grabbing people, especially a grown person. I would imagine there's some kind of yelp from the person. Some of the areas, too, are just like it's too much into the trees where I would imagine you'd hear something go through the trees, and people that are disappearing in front of them, they're not, or behind them, they're not hearing anything.
I don't think in the forest. I'm thinking more like in a open plain type area.
Right. But that's what I mean. Some of these that are disappearing are just like in the forest areas.
Yeah. As for the yelp, this is the cool thing about eagles and hawks. They know exactly where to place those talons after a couple kills. Yeah, so if they do hunt humans for some weird reason, it would know to come right on that back of the neck, and those talons would probably break whatever is going on. You wouldn't even know.
Possibly, yeah.
You'd be dead before you knew.
There was one of those cases where there was, I think, like surveyors going out, and they were kind of like 50 feet apart doing whatever they were doing. And
those are the weird ones.
In the middle, the guy, they're watching and they're talking back, and the guy in the middle is looking at the guy in the back. It was a young guy in the back, and he's talking to him, and every few minutes going, and he checked back, and he said, one time I looked back, and he was gone, and they're like, hey, and they called the guy in front, like, hold on a minute, come here. And so they went back to look, and he was gone. All they could see was like his change and like his wallet was on the floor. And not far off the trail where they're at, his boot was like stuck in a fence or something, like a barber, like stuck in there.
Like someone drug him through it.
Something. So that's when I was thinking,
the wallet and the chain?
I go, well, and then that's so many things about a big, huge thunderbird or some kind of cryptical bird would grab it, because when you grab you upside down, what would fall out would be all your change out of your.
That's true.
No, they didn't hear it though, which is weird.
No,
I guess he's 50 feet away. You probably wouldn't hear change falling.
But like I'm telling you, eagles, like they're not loud. When they kill, they're very quiet and they're very stealthy.
Yeah.
And if it caught him just right, you're not hearing a word out of him.
As much like that, I don't know. I'm not sure about that one, but I do like that more than anything else. And
I'd put that
for some of the cases. Yeah,
I'd put it up there at the top.
Right. So let's go over some of the other, and there are tons of obviously we have aliens, paranormal stuff. The people paranormal, and we get that. I don't know what. And we're talking paranormal. So we've had like time slips. People hit a wormhole, whether it be a dimensional wormhole or a time wormhole.
Yeah, they just walk through it.
And they go through and they're gone. But that doesn't explain people come back as bodies. Like dead bodies. That doesn't explain that. Doesn't explain the clothing.
Maybe
it might explain some of the people missing that they found later on, and they're just like, I don't know what the hell happened. Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe the walk through the time thing killed it. Like maybe
whatever,
like it just
shoot it up or something, like a blender. Ugh.
Yeah, but I mean, like our bodies might not. I mean, we talk about it in hypothetical, but maybe we can't technically really walk through it without getting torn up pretty bad.
Yeah, because the people who do end up go missing when they're found somewhere else. Maybe it's just not a time slip. It also kind of transfers you. So if you get transferred in the wrong area, you just get
something different.
Yeah.
That
could be something. I mean, as much as we laugh about that, and that could be something. Another one is there's a whole bunch of them. Sorry. This damn thing wants to go to sleep.
You gotta mess with your settings.
Yeah, I know. I thought I did, but
well, there was one they talked about Sasquatch.
Yeah, Bigfoot.
I know an entire town. It was like, I think it was like 12, 13 people.
Yeah,
went missing because of Sasquatch.
Yeah.
No, you think I'm joking? Like
I know. It's just funny.
The weird thing is, the guy, like, he went out to the town, and it's all dilapidated and shit now. But like, he went out to the town and he set up a tent and he was trying to catch this thing out there. It was him and another guy.
Right.
And their base of operations, while they were sitting in tents waiting for like to catch a picture.
Yeah.
And they had rifles and everything, got destroyed, and they found hair, but they said the hair ended up being from like a goat, but the hair was like in the top corner of the door.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, and like it was just weird because it was like, all right, let's just say like that town pissed off of a fucking Sasquatch.
Maybe.
And that thing just went through and just annihilated these people.
That's right. Sasquatch has taken enough. He's taking it on the town.
No, but I mean, like if you're mining and you're pissing something off.
Yeah.
And this thing is like giving, because it said it gave them warnings. It would throw rocks, and then someone from the town came in and like, yeah, something's throwing rocks at us, and then the town just went and disappeared.
So that would go in line with David Paulides' first North American Bigfoot search, basically, because Bigfoot's basically Sasquatch. About going on. So I mean, I laugh because I'm not a big Bigfoot believer.
No, but I think if you get something,
it could be something. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
you get something big enough that you pissed off, and then maybe you're trying to just get out of that area, but you have a 30-mile hike,
right?
And it's just picking you off left and right. Because I know some animals, like they don't just eat you. If it's territorial, they just attack everything that's there.
Right.
Like everything's on the menu, and they're not trying to kill you for food. Right. They're just killing you, just because they don't want you there.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean, because you're in the area, you're too close. Exactly. Another one they put in for the theories, but this has been part of the things where he wouldn't involve is like a criminal activity. People always say, well, what if they found like a cocaine farm or a pot farm?
That happens in the Emerald Triangle all the time.
But that's one of the things he wouldn't include. If that's in the area, if that was suspected, they wouldn't put that on the list, because anything kind of criminal activity.
It's probably them.
Yeah, because it's probably them. Exactly.
If you walked up on a weed farm that they're doing, they're killing you.
Right. So that's what they're doing. And the people and the searchers that had, for the missing people, when they do search, you would find remnants of a weed farm, even if you cover it up. You can't get rid of it.
No,
so,
you can see
something. Yeah. So there's no signs of that. If there were, he wouldn't have included it on this list. And he said that, because anything that's kind of criminal activity, I don't include in the list, because we know that could be a possibility. I go, okay, so people would say, well, that could be. I go, well, that's for this list that he put in, suppose what he says, it's not part of it because he wouldn't put it in the list. But one thing could be a government cover-up.
But what are they covering up?
Exactly. I don't know. Are they doing some secrets? I don't know. Well, it makes as much sense as a cryptid or a Sasquatch or something. I mean, we don't know.
Government cover-ups are more like city shit or the fucking drones.
What are they just doing experiments? What do they say the best way? What do they say the best way to do human experiments is you get these random people out there and just
drug them up,
and then do whatever.
That makes sense.
And then if we need them, if not, sometimes you know what, they don't fit our criteria. Or someone's like, dude, you brought a fucking 2-year-old? Put that motherfucker back. What's wrong with you? Oh, okay. So he lays him out in the field and closes his clothes up. You know, makes it look different and throw it off. I mean, that's kind of like a serial killer thing.
Sounds rapey.
That kind of right. That's kind of
like
a
serial rapist.
Well, not even rapist. You just kind of do weird stuff just to throw the scent off, like make it really weird.
I know, but you strip a 2-year-old down and then you put his clothes down. Like,
I don't know if all his clothes were off.
It
wasn't all his clothes. It was like he had some, but like his shirt was folded and just,
I don't know. I don't know. Like, what are you covering?
I'm just saying
though?
that's what exactly. I don't know. You know, what is the cover? The only thing I could think of when I was thought about that is just like, well, they're doing an experience on these people, and they figure like serial killers, the best place to get them is the national parks because you can get them easier, and it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not saying it makes sense.
That's top-notch hunting ground.
Getting someone alone, but why would you grab people that are in groups of people and make it that much more highlighted?
Maybe they want a challenge. Maybe they want to see how the people react.
Maybe
you have. Okay, I mean, if you want to go down this road, maybe you have some sadistic government people that are just on like rogue, and they're over here fucking around in the national parks snatching people.
It tells serial killers, okay, you've been caught, and we could put you in jail, or you can help us because we have some people we want. So look, you're gonna catch people. For every 5 people you catch, you can catch one by yourself and do what you want. Basically, I don't know. You know,
maybe
the guy's like,
maybe that deal isn't a deal. It's just they tell him to go catch people, but every once in a while he just
and they turn a blind eye. They figure like,
they're like, well, he got one.
Well, he got one. It's all right. Just don't do that too much.
We have to monitor him a little better.
I mean, it makes as much sense as everything else. Again, if you have questions, if you're shaking your head, going like, this is so simple, it's this and this, go through some of the documentaries. I wouldn't buy the books, but if you go through some of the information that they have on some of these cases, it's very interesting, and it's very kind of like puts you like, okay, well, maybe it's not that, you know? I went through some of those, and there's been a lot of podcast stuff on it. Mr. Ballin, if you look up the Missing 411, Mr. Ballin, he does a great podcast. He does a lot of the cases and a lot of the information on that. It was very weird, and I'm going to go through more of those because it is interesting. It's not easily. I don't think there'd be one answer for all those disappearances.
No, man. I think you're looking at multiple things for
everything they listed, other than maybe Bigfoot and alien and interdimensional travel. I don't know about those. It could be explainable to all these, and other ones are just kind of shit happens where again weather comes along, someone might have fell into maybe a mine hole. Although you think
you're in a mine shaft, you better be right on top of that.
Although I know searching, they would think we would find that, but maybe for some reason they just didn't. They kind of missed it. Maybe it was small enough for a child. They just didn't see the hole.
Or maybe they just didn't think the child would go that way.
Or when the child fell through, it collapsed in.
Could have been, yeah.
Whatever. There could be some explanations of that, for the 30, 40, 50,000, however, and these, 2,000, it could happen,
Yeah.
But there's some of them that are explainable, and we probably won't be able to explain. I mean.
Well, you know what I think? I think what you're looking at is natural things happening, and then maybe it goes into they stumbled upon someone that was like, oh, this kid's out here, I'm just gonna snatch, but the kid wandered off on his own, and then or the person, and they thought they were on the trail, they weren't.
As funny as enough as it is, cryptid ones I should be more on board with. I wouldn't laugh too much at alien or the interdimensional time slip stuff. Maybe time slip, interdimensional stuff too much. Not that I fully believe that, but it's still kind of a fringe science stuff that is kind of weird that, they've proven that there's multiple, realities.
No, yeah, they've already proven that. But, I mean, the alien thing,
supposedly,
I think aliens are a very small fraction of what they're taking.
Right.
I think some of them are just so weird that I don't know.
Right. It's if anything, it's an interesting look. You guys look into it. It is cool. We like to. I don't really have an answer to what it would be. I know you like the feral people thing.
I think on certain ones, like if you find a guy's scalp.
Yeah.
I think you got a feral person that fucked you up.
And I think that explains a few of those cases.
Chunks of pieces. Yeah. And I think also
the bear guy running, I think you're right. There's somebody wearing a costume, and for some reason they're just sicko taking kids, and whether they're eating them or...
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with people taking people, you can cover up a body pretty quick.
Right.
Like you can bury a body, you can throw it down a mine shaft,
right.
You can eat it.
And I think, all these... disappearances from national parks, as we said, is because it's easier to disappear. It's easier.
So easy to disappear.
Whether it's the person or people that are doing it to just get away with it. Again, as I keep saying, in a lot of these cases, even if it's people doing it, it'd be hard for them to get people in certain areas or to have people.
And I'm not saying it's always people. No, I just think that's one of
a lot
of
them. You think,
yeah, I think that's one of the more.
And it does make sense to be that would be some of them at least. Again, but Yeah, it's weird. You can't really pin down. Again, this is all we got to believe that this David Paulides is putting out information as he sees it from this list, whatever these lists or list that he's getting from. That's another.
I would just like
question.
to see the list.
I would too. How did he get them? You know,
I'd like to go over some of them and be like, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, they found the person, but
right.
No marks, no visible things.
Right.
The person was clean, and they were 20 miles away from where they were.
Now, people point out again his Bigfoot thing, trying to sell books. We all try to sell books, and even every documentary person, you're going to put stuff out there. He wants to. It seems like he wants to help people. Whether it be for money or not, and I get some of his anger about the skepticism. Of course, you have a bunch of people calling it bullshit.
Jumped on the Bigfoot train,
right, or the UFO one, exactly. But right, and I do like his answer when he said, "Hey, until you start looking into this list yourself, you do the research, then you can really come."
I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that he's calling them. Yeah, well, that's just like when we talk to people, if they don't know what they're talking about, I'm like, why are you trying to argue situations?
Right.
You have no info, you've never done research, you don't know what you're talking about.
And for us, our research, and we've always gone like, well, we may think it's this, but we're not sure. We come up
with
like
going out there, like, I don't know.
We do online search, man, and as reliable as that is, and stuff.
When we do it, we try to do the best we can.
We try to do multiple sources.
We're not
too.
just going off some weird dude's site.
No, we try to look at a lot of different things and
credible sites,
and try to tame it down a little bit in what we can, because we have jobs, we can't go out ourselves like he did, and and foot the
fuck that. I don't want to go out there.
Bug.
People go missing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to go out there.
I'm going to be the next one.
I'm afraid to go out to the playground. Let alone I'm going to go missing. Exactly.
My wife's going to be going, where did he go?
I look like a child.
Find the body, and now I'm gone.
That's right. Maybe we can, how they set up a, what do you call it? You put someone out there as a bait. Maybe you can set me up as bait. I can dress up as a little kid with a twirly hat and a big lollipop in the forest.
And I'll be sitting there with a gun.
You guys just can't get your eyes off me. You better be. I don't care if I go around the corner or not.
I have a rifle. I have a scoped rifle just waiting.
You're like, achoo! Ah, crap, he's gone.
And we'll have earbuds. I'll just hear you scream, running. Come get me!
Right, exactly.
I don't know what this thing is.
Got a really touchy-feely alien,
Oh man!
E.T. with his finger, phone home. Like, we're not phone home with that, buddy.
So with this, I'm thinking most of them are people. I think I could definitely see some giant, massive bear that we don't know about, some mutant type thing it's not like mutant, like right. I'm talking about like it just happens in this area and this bear just was abnormally large.
Yeah.
And maybe that thing gets a couple people and there's nothing left when it's done. And then instead of killing it, because they don't want to kill it, they want to preserve it. I think that happens. Yeah. Maybe an alien or two.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a dimensional traveling Bigfoot who's under the orders of aliens.
I love it. I fucking love it.
He doesn't want to do it, but the aliens like, go get him. So he just dimensional travel. He just grabs somebody and just leaves.
We want that.
There we go. Exactly. He's like, and then he's like, before you go, make sure you leave his pants and his shoes like scattered around.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
Just make it look weird.
I don't know, guys. Yeah, it's very interesting. Look into it. It is an interesting topic. Whether you believe it or not, it's still kind of a cool watch. That second movie, Missing 411, The Hunted, and we're not getting paid by this guy right now, but I thought that was an interesting one. I like that one.
I believe I watched that one.
Yeah, it was.
I think I watched that one.
The first, if you live in the UFOs, watch that one. But that was kind of.
Yeah, I'll say this. There's so many weird stories of people doing weird shit and like the ones of the people that went missing in Siberia.
Yeah, and that's just us in Canada and America. He's not even really looking outside the world.
But like this one, it was a bunch of them, and they got naked.
We'll do a story about that one because that was very interesting.
Killed each other, and then wandered off, and
right.
They had no fucking clue about what happened.
They don't know what happened to them. It could have been radiation.
They think it was
could have
madness,
been some
radiation,
gas. It could have
something.
Been right. Aliens, obviously.
But I'm like
avalanche.
Sometimes nature just finds a way to just wipe you the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like you might just wander into something. Maybe like how we're constantly evolving and stuff.
Yep.
Maybe these people wandered into like a brew.
Yeah.
Of what nature is trying to.
Maybe.
Like, a concoction of nature trying to figure something out, and all of a sudden they just got hit.
Remember, like that terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Happening, where the wind was just kind of from the nature.
Was it The Happening?
Yeah.
Was that the one with the
people kill themselves? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sorry. That's what it made me think of. Like nature's just killing off everybody.
Fuck. And I'm thinking, I'm over here thinking about The Village too.
Yeah. Oh, The Village. Yeah. No, that's okay. Let's not get into that. We'll start diving into movies, and you don't want us to do that.
I'm thinking hills have eyes. People are out there, and that's what you're wandering into.
Might be. Exactly.
And if you really go missing, you're getting bred out for things that you don't want to get bred out for.
Ooh, yeah.
That's mine.
Just be careful out there in the parks, guys. Keep an eye on each other. Even in general, just keep an eye. And Politis, if anything, he always does have a good idea how to keep yourself, safe in parks. Satellite phones, GPS trackers, all that stuff. Which is, regardless of missing for one, it is good because people do get lost.
You can carry
and the more well prepared that you are, if something were to happen, the faster you can be found and everything. So
and
he does have to put a good list of things that you should.
And if you're going to go to a national park, actually know what you're getting into.
Right. Yeah. Don't just
don't think you're going out to like Sunset Park out here.
Right. And you got to respect nature. And again, nature in general, the wilderness. It's the wilderness. I believe that nature's the way it is, and humans shouldn't be out there because that's why it keeps killing us. So that's why I'm in the city all the time. This is our nature, the city. Sorry.
No, I mean, look, nature is, we're supposed to be a part of it. We're supposed to survive in it.
Yeah.
We don't really know how to survive in nature anymore.
No.
Because we live in cities.
Because cities are our nature. And
yeah.
I stole that from Joe Rogan, by the way.
Yeah. If you don't know how to do it, then don't fuck around with it.
Exactly. All right, man. Anything else you want on top? I mean, we can keep going on with this, but it's a lot. Yeah.
It was, we hit it.
Again, if it's interesting, look into it. You can look it up. It's just
if you want to buy his books, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Missing 411. You don't have to look at his books. There's tons of podcasts.
Well, if you buy his book, then send it to Danny.
Yes, because those things are expensive. Exactly. Maybe even I think I used almost like $50. I'm like, I don't know, I want to spend that much. I was trying to look for the Kindle version, and there wasn't one out there. I was like,
of course not.
Yeah, of course not.
There's probably audiobook.
Well, it's probably because it might be pictures and stuff. So maybe that's why the Kindle thing. Yeah.
Maybe audiobook and a PDF.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us again. We weren't sure how this one was going to go, but we got that out. Again, it was a bunch of information. And it seems like sometimes the stuff that has a lot of information is hard to
really narrow down and
get out for you guys.
Try to find a vision for it.
You guys enjoyed it. We'll be back in hopefully soon. I keep saying hopefully sooner than last time.
We'll get better at it.
One of these days. Or we won't. And then you have to wait 3 weeks to a month for each show.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Unless you want to pay us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. We're all good. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And for those out there, please comment. If there's a comment out there, thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate it. Give us ideas. We'll look into stuff. Sometimes it's hard. We're trying to find stuff to look for and do. And I know there's so much out there, but yeah. Anyways,
happy.
Yeah, we'll see you guys.
Have a good one.